Hey guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Welcome back to my channel and thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your day. As always, it's such a pleasure and a privilege. Please like, subscribe, and share. Like half of you are subscribed. It doesn't cost anything, but it's priceless to me. Communicate in the chat if you have something to say. Please, I communicate in the chat. We have a great little community that everybody's building, and it's really nice. So listen guys, I was going to put up a video, and I still am, about youths in detention centers or in these boot camps or these places that parents, when they get fed up with their kids, that they just like send their kids to, and what that's like. As you guys know, I've worked inside of a youth residential drugs center, and it was often the alternative. It was that or jail to a lot of juveniles. So I have some experience talking about that. I also went to school for it, and I went for my KSAC with that. So yeah, so a lot of stuff that I want to talk to you about that. But in the meantime, what I found out, and I didn't even know about this, was that there was an execution in Alabama on January 25th this year, and it was an execution for the first time ever in the world ever that we know about, that was by nitrogen gas. So we've never done that before, and we did it for the first time in an execution of a human being in Alabama, and that was just a day ago, 2 days ago. Is it the 27th now? It was just on the 25th. Anyway, so a day ago. And there's a few things that I actually want to talk about in regards to such a thing. As you guys know, I've said before, I don't have a problem with the death penalty as long as there is, there has to be physical evidence there. There has to be so much for me to say, yeah, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind. Yeah, that would be a hard thing for me to prove. However, I don't think it's okay that we use people as guinea pigs. The guy was sentenced to nitrogen hypoxia. So that's what his death was going to be. So they were going to fill him up with nitrogen gas so that he couldn't get any oxygen. The former governor of Alabama, I believe, compared it to death by waterboarding, which I don't even think they can do to, we're not supposed to be able to do that to our war enemies, but I'm not going to say that we don't do that.
Death by suffocation is not going to be pleasant. It is akin to, waterboarding someone to death.
So let me just tell you a little bit about the story. So in 1988, this guy, Kenneth Eugene Smith, all right, was paid $1,000 as a kill for hire with two other guys to kill Elizabeth Sennett. And the person that paid for the kill was, of course, who? The husband of Elizabeth. Anyway, he's been on death row in Alabama for 35 years. So first of all, besides him being found guilty, there was a jury of 12 people. 11 out of the 12 people said, we find him guilty and we recommend life imprisonment without parole. So the judge, on a judicial override, that's when the judge says, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to do what I want to do. And the judge says, I'm going to sentence you to death. So he's on death row for 35 years. It doesn't matter that 11 people in the jury recommended life in prison without parole. The judge did a judicial override and said, no, I know what's better, and I just want to kill the guy. So he, and by the way, that is no longer in 2017, I believe they banned that and they can't do that anymore. However, it's not retroactive. So there's 31 more people in Alabama that, unless somebody comes in and changes it and says, okay, you can't go forward with judicial override, so we're going to go ahead and go and allow it to go retro, and say anybody that happened to, we're going to go ahead and honor what the jury wanted, not what the judge wanted. After all, it was a trial by jury. It wasn't a trial by judge. It was a trial by jury. So for the judge to come in and do a judicial override, that's not cool. And then to have it banned in 2017, but to not have it retroactive, that's not really cool either.
So, there's a constitutional issue that I don't know how the Supreme Court can turn its back on this case, but they have. Alabama in 2017 was the last state to abandon judicial overrides. And this man is one of 31 people still on Alabama's death row who were sentenced not by a jury, but by a judge. And it's clearly unconstitutional. It's illegal in Alabama, and it makes absolutely no sense.
So, anyway, and also with the judicial override, the former governor of Alabama, Don Siegelman, said that more times than not, it's a racial issue that happens to, because 61% of it is African Americans. This is happening to African Americans. So,
one other thing, Nicole, I want to bring out about Alabama's death penalty laws. They are, both they're unconstitutional, they're indefensible, and they are based on race. Clearly, the judges have used this at a time when they are seeking election. In non-election years, the judicial, the Equal Justice Initiative showed that in non-election years, judicial overrides were about 7%. In an election year, when judges were seeking votes, it rose to 30%.
In 2022, this guy, Kenneth Eugene Smith, was 58 years old. Not back then. He was 56, 57 in 2022. He was 58 when he died yesterday, or January 25th, 2024. He was actually born on the 4th of July in 1965. That's kind of weird. And he died January 25th, 2024. So he was 58 years old. But in 2022, they went ahead and they tried to execute him. And after an hour and 20 minutes of trying to find a vein to put the line through so that they can inject him with the poison, they could not find a line. They couldn't find a vein to put it in to put the line through. So after an hour of 20 minutes jabbing the hell out of the guy, and him just being, I don't know, scared to death, I'm sure, they stopped that execution and said, nope, we got to stop that because we obviously don't know what we're doing. That's not what they said. They just said, we're going to hold that for a minute. And so yesterday they decided, 5 months after they were allowed to go ahead and use the nitrogen gas, they went ahead and they put him into a face mask. And here's the thing. People said, there were professionals saying that, or experts saying that, if the mask wasn't on tight enough, it was going to be a slow and painful death. The mask had to be on so tight. And then also they were concerned about people in the room with him inhaling some of this nitrogen. So they put him in what was said like a fire, like what firefighters would use. They put him in that, and they pumped that into him. And though they expected him to go unconscious in seconds, it was several minutes, and it was a violent, horrific death, and where his body shook and I have video of people talking about it, but I just wanted to, like, this news wasn't very big. I live in New York. I just wanted to, what do you guys think about that? I mean, it's one thing that a jury decided something and the judge decided something else. And it's another thing that they're experimenting on human beings. I know his punishment might deserve death, but I don't know about that. I don't know about deciding if that is the way somebody should go. That, you know, So, yeah, we're going to listen to how that happened. And you guys tell me what you think about that. And, yeah. So, yeah.
Gas execution set for tonight in Alabama. 3 justices dissented in the case. Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson were the 3 dissenting justices.
Smith will be strapped to a gurney and a mask will be placed on his face. The nitrogen gas will be administered for 15 minutes or 5 minutes following a flatline indication on the EKG, whichever is longer. Smith and his lawyers stated a second attempt at execution would be a violation of his constitutional rights and amount to cruel and unusual punishment.
Following the flow of nitrogen gas, Kenneth Smith laid on the gurney and shook for about 2 minutes, shaking and writhing on that gurney. The gurney did move several times there. Following that shaking on the gurney, there were several minutes, about between 5 and 7 minutes, according to media witnesses, of heavy breathing on the gurney. Several minutes later, a correctional officer did walk up to Kenneth Smith and appear to look over at his face. He did not touch Kenneth Smith or actually do anything that media witnesses were able to see to Kenneth Smith, but he did lean over and look at him for several minutes before walking back to the wall to return to his post there. At about 8:08, movement appeared to stop, and there was no perceptible breathing from Kenneth Smith. The curtains to the execution viewing room closed at 8:15 p.m. Central Time, and Governor Ivey pronounced death at 8:25.
The entire process from start to finish took approximately 22 minutes. A few of the things Reverend Hood said that stood out a few moments ago, he said, quote, he was ripping his head forward over and over and over again. Here's a little more from that press conference and what he had to say just a few moments ago.
I think that anybody that witnessed this knows that we didn't see someone go unconscious in 2 or 3 seconds. We didn't see somebody go unconscious in 30 seconds. What we saw was minutes of someone struggling for their life. We saw minutes of someone heaving back and forth. We saw spit. We saw all sorts of stuff from his mouth develop on the mask. We saw this mask tied to the gurney and him ripping his head forward over and over and over again. And we also saw correction officials in the room who were visibly surprised at how bad this thing went.
Guys, what do you think about all this? I mean, talk to me. Tell me in the chat what's going on with this. Did you even know about this? What do you think about us using, even though they're death row inmates, what about using them as guinea pigs? What do you think about that? Guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. Please like, subscribe, share. Share this video if you would, please. Make people aware. Talk to me in the chat. I participate in the chat. I learn from you guys. You open my eyes and show me different things. Sometimes I agree with you, sometimes I don't, but I so appreciate the participation. And guys, more than anything, don't forget, be better today than you were yesterday, but not half as good as you're going to be tomorrow, guys. I'll see you next time. This is Issues with Toddy One Skip. Toddy One Skip. See you next time.